City crossover. We are live yet again. The Bucks are winners tonight. Appreciate you joining the Cream City crossover. Bucks are winners 131-124 over the Miami Heat. And they have won Group B in the in-season tournament for the East, which means they will advance to the quarterfinal round. They'll host a quarterfinal game. You are now listening to the Cream City crossover, hosted by the Guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Yes, sir. We are in the building. Bucks are winners. We talked about it 131-124. If you just joined us on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you're at, you can send your comments in at TCIIIESQ. Or if you're on YouTube, you're listening on YouTube, watching on the YouTube, you can jump into the comment section there as well. We're going to read some of your thoughts all over tonight. A 131-124 victory over the Miami Heat, who were short Jimmy Butler. I think they were short Tyler Hero, but that didn't matter. The Bucks do what they do as always. Going to read through some of the stats here. Damian Lillard in 37 minutes, 32 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds. Mikal Beasley, 16 points, 10 rebounds in 37 minutes for Beasley. Basically 38. Brook Lopez in 31 minutes goes 12, 4, and 4. Giannis 33 and 10 in 39 minutes of work. And Chris Middleton back into the action tonight. How about Chris Middleton, who ends up being the player of the game? The Cream City Crossover play of the game. 17 points, 8 rebounds tonight for him to assist. Bobby Porter chipped in 6 points. Pat Connaughton chipped in 7 points. Also left with an ankle injury. And how about your boy, Andre Jackson Jr. in 3 minutes puts up 6 points, 2 big threes on the Miami side of things. Bam Adebayo. I gotta talk about this. Bam Adebayo looked every bit like a superstar tonight. 31 and 10. I've been waiting to see that out of Bam Adebayo in 42 minutes. He looked good. Kyle Lowry, the grifter, 21, 4, and 6. They got 20 from Josh Richardson, who came into the game shooting like under 30% from 3. And of course tonight he was 42%, 3 of 7, but still too much from 3 for him. And he had Jaquez Jr., who was out there balling, 14.6 assists, and then Cody Martin with 14 points as well. The Bucks are winners, 131-124. JT, I'm watching this basketball game, and again, everything about it's the same scenario that we always talk about. This is the same scenario. What do we say? Well, a couple things. Number one, fourth quarter, it's Dame time. But also, as some of the watchers and listeners have been telling me, it ain't just Dame time in the fourth quarter. It's Dr. Griffin office hours. You've got to put him to the test. He gets into the lab in the fourth quarter. And again, the reason I say that because I see so many clowns on Twitter, so many people on social media. Well, it's just that we have great players. Well, what? Here's my issue on that. You can't claim that everybody's so great. You can't claim that everybody's so great in the initially in the game. You can't claim that everybody's so great in the early parts of the game, John Tyus. And you're like, well, and they're not executing, and it's always the coach's fault. And what's going on? Why is this happening? Oh my God, they got to be better. And then the fourth quarter comes, and it's like, well, it's just the players. No. You got to stand on one side or the other. So if it can't be the players, it can't be the coaching when everything's going bad, and then the players when everything's going good. No. Because, and again, even if you want to go to the offensive side of the ball and talk about it, that it's an offensive thing late in games, and that's why they're able to execute, they're also holding teams to points in the fourth quarters as well. I'm looking, again, I'll just look at it. I believe they held the Miami Heat. So if I look at the stats here, they held the Miami Heat to under 30 points in the fourth quarter. So you look in quarter one, they held them to 22. They gave up 40 points in the second quarter and 35 in the third, under 30 in the fourth. Outscored Miami by 11 points in the fourth quarter. And what do we say, John Tyus? Get this game to 2-3 possessions in the fourth quarter with 8-9 minutes to go. I'm taking Giannis and Dame over everybody. And tonight, not only am I taking Giannis and Dame over everybody, I'm taking 22, all one leg of them with me. I'm taking one leg Chris Middleton with me at the end of the games as well, because he came up huge late in that basketball game. So much to get to in the recap. I'll just go, like I said, to that in-game scenario. How about the shots from Chris Middleton late in that basketball game? The decision-making, that alley-oop he threw to Giannis that got him fouled. But here's the other part about this, John Tyson. We're not even, again, we're going to talk about it. Giannis is 33 and 10. He was 10 of 13 from the free throw line. He started off 2 of 5 from the line, John Tyus, and did not miss for the rest of the game. And one more stat I'll go through before I pass this thing off to you. I just want to make the point because everybody's gonna say, well, they're not playing well. Well, they're having to gut out wins against close teams, and that's against bad teams because you're looking at Jimmy Butler missing tonight. You're looking at Tyler Hero missing. Well, that's part of it, so it's not really it's not that big of a deal. But I just want to say again, the Milwaukee Bucks are top heavy. That's what this team is. It wasn't so. I'll just read this out. Plus minus. Chris Middleton was a plus 20 tonight. Giannis Antetokounmpo was a plus 18 tonight. Brook Lopez was a plus 9 tonight. Malik Beasley was a plus 16 tonight. Damian Lillard was a plus 13 tonight. On the other side of it, Bobby Portis a minus 12. Pat Connaughton a minus 8. Marjan a minus 1. Cam Payne a minus 15. That's where the issues were. Now again, you had some defensive problems. Your issues were on your bench. So if you're looking for a silver lining tonight, and you want to talk about what's going on, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying offensively, or excuse me, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying from a starting perspective, they beat the crap out of this team. They beat the crap out of the Miami Heat tonight. It wasn't like they had to make up for bad coaching or anything like that. They had to make up for a bench that was not good, that did not execute, that did not play well. And the starters did that. So I don't have any problem with the starters. It's going to be a top-heavy team. And when you get to the playoffs, John Tyus, as you and I both know, you're playing 7-8 guys anyway. All these guys ain't getting in the game and getting extended minutes. And so the Bucks did exactly what they needed to do tonight. Beat down a Miami Heat team, 131-124. John Tyus, what did you see?
Man, I'm fanning myself because I'm in a sermon right now because you're preaching, my brother. You are preaching, sir. You are preaching. You are preaching. I'm in one of them churches with no AC. We just sitting here, right? No churches with no AC and just a piano. Folks is stomping their feet to go ahead and make music in that church. You know what I'm talking about now. But listen, I 100% agree with everything you said. And I just got to ask Bucks fans, are you not entertained? What a win tonight. It was great to see this team compete, right? This game was a little strange in the first quarter. They jumped out 15-2. I think it was like 15-2, and Miami just couldn't get a bucket, right? You saw that, and then you saw, that gap close. But this Bucks team tonight, just the way these guys competed, I do that fourth quarter. I mean, it was absolutely remarkable. A couple things I want to hit on too, because I got to do this every single time we jump in. Again, another 30-30 night for Giannis and Dame. Mm-hmm. Man, we've known that this team was top heavy, and we've known that Giannis and Dame, the young kids call it freak time. I'm not going to call it that, right? Because he probably has something else in mind when you say that. But what I will say is that the Giannis and Dame combination, there is nobody in the league that can stop those two when they get this thing going. And I want to reiterate that. We said we would take Giannis and Dame over anybody. And do you see why? I mean, these guys, all right. So before I gush over that, so we look at this win in the aggregate, right? And you mentioned some of these stats too. You had Brook Lopez had 12 tonight. Can we talk about my guy Malik Beasley, 16 and 10? This is the second time. Now, this is the second time Malik Beasley has had double-digit rebounds, right? He had 11 against Washington the other night, and he's got 10 again tonight. Hey, shooting guards don't get them kind of boards typically. Yeah, I just want y'all to know that, right? Typically, shooting guards, the guys that play out in the paint pick up numbers like that. But let's talk about Malik Beasley stepping up, though, and doing that dirty work, right? Doing something that's uncharacteristic for him to help the team win. Again, great night from Malik Beasley, too. 4 for 8 from the three-point line. I'll take that all day, every day. Wonderful, wonderful job by him. AJJ, I agree with you. He had those 2 big threes in the fourth. It was like, man, and he only got 3 minutes playing time. So at the end of the day, you need that because what you did is you made your minutes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he made his minutes count, right?
Absolutely.
He made his minutes count, and that's what you're going to have to do once this Bucks team is fully healthy. What you're going to have to do, if you're a bench guy, if you're Marjan, if you're Andre Jackson Jr., if you're AJ Green, whomever, you're going to have to make your minutes count. So that means when you come in, you need to have an impact. And how are you going to have the impact? Is it getting boards great? Is it getting steals great? Is it getting blocks great? Is it fast breaks? Is it assists? Whatever it is, you have to come in and you have to do something because you're going to have to earn your minutes at some point, right? And my next point is, again, I said this a couple shows ago. It's not necessarily a terrible thing that Crowder's out right now because, again, you can do some different things with your rotations. You give some guys some minute because you need to know what you got. And you preferably need to know what you have before you need them, right? Ain't nothing like looking down on the bench and be like, all right, here we go. He ain't played all year, but okay, well, let's get out here and just make sure he doesn't make us go backwards, right? Just to make sure he doesn't completely screw up and slow down everything. And you're getting key experience with some of these young guys here. So you talked about it, and y'all know. I mean, I sound like an old man when I say it every single night, right? But I gotta go ahead and tell you, man, we did some great things tonight. You know where I'm about to go with this? Free throws, right? Bucks shot 88.9% from the free throw line. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that typically, right? Probably just 12 percentage points, but I'll live with it, and that is awesome. They definitely that's one of the higher season totals that we've seen from the Bucks shooting from the line. We also won the battle of the boards 45-35. And again, now interesting thing is they had more points in the paint than us, but again, we talked about Bam looking like that guy at this point. I mean, it makes sense. But great night overall for the Bucks. Man, I am fired up, and I'm just glad to see us compete. I don't care that Jimmy wasn't there. I don't care that Tyler wasn't there. What I care about is that we played our game, and we found a way to finish when this thing got tight in the fourth. Again, put some respect on Dr. Griffin's name.
Absolutely finished when the game got tight in the fourth quarter. These are the fourth quarter Bucks. This is what they do. Milwaukee Bucks winning tonight, 131-124. I see all of the comments that are coming in, both on YouTube and Twitter. Let's get to some of them. Kyle and Racine says, Trey, are you going to pump the brakes on Chris being done? So let me pump the brakes on that comment. I didn't say that Chris was done. I don't believe I said that. What I talked about, and what I've talked about from the beginning of this year, was the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks initially lied about the Chris Middleton injury, right? Again, now I'll do a semi bit of apologizing. Maybe if I've sounded like there was a eulogy for Chris Middleton, that's not what I intended. All I was saying about Chris Middleton was expect to see some of these issues that continue to come up and pop up throughout the year. And again, we're almost 20 games in, and Chris Middleton has not been able to play a full minutes load, for an entire year so far. So you're seeing some of it. I will say he defensively, he's a cone. People are going at him. There may be something to say about, I know Tatonia World gets in here all the time and is talking about, does Chris Middleton need to, and I think a lot of people have talked about this as well, John Tyus, should Chris Middleton get into his Manu Ginobili role where you come in six man and you giving us 25 minutes and maybe you're closing and that's kind of what you are. Maybe that's what he's become, because again, for a lot of this ball game, Chris Middleton didn't look great. He looked great, but I will tell you, fourth quarter comes alive, and again, what I know I said on that last show, Chris Middleton's jumper is still there. He still got that shot, and when he's hitting, he looks good. Down the stretch, he looks good. He still makes good decisions. Defensively, there's some issues that go on, but I'll give him that. Warren Price says, what up, fellas? Chris surprised me by playing. I thought he'd be out for a while when you talk Achilles. We don't win without him tonight. So, again, a lot of people talking about Chris Middleton. John, give me your thoughts. Jump back in here and let me know, what you saw with Chris Middleton tonight and how much he meant to this basketball team, especially down the stretch late in this basketball game.
100%. And the thing about Chris that we do know, right, and that we can confidently say is, listen, chemistry, right? You've seen that chemistry, especially with Giannis, especially playing as well. No, Chris brings something to the table. It's never been a question about Chris doing that. The biggest thing with Chris is your best ability is availability. Mm-hmm. And it's the fact that it's the fact that I don't think any single person, any of our listeners, right? I don't think any of our listeners can sit up here and say that based on what they've seen this year, Chris Middleton is reliable. Right, because Chris Middleton's availability has been so, it's fluctuated, it's been all over the place, and so that's one of the things that we've said. Then we've also talked about, hey, it looks like some of the lateral movement, some of the things are diminishing a little bit, and I mean we see that, right? We see that, yeah. But and I will back you up on this. You have 100% said on time after time that mid-range jumper is still fire. That mid-range jumper, he can still get it. He can still shoot that thing, right? He's my man in the YMCA at this point, right? Just playing from 3-point line to 3-point line, right? That's all he's doing, right?
Yeah,
that is 100% what Chris Middleton is right now.
Slow man game going back and down. Yeah, but it's effective. It's effective. Right. And all I need to know is Chris Middleton, be out there. Just be out there playing. Can you get out there and give me those minutes and play well? Again, down the stretch, I'll take it. I'll take whatever Chris can give me, because again, he is a high-level player when he's on the floor. So, but you need him on the floor. That's the only thing.
Right, and we talked about this, right? And we talked about what chips away at a player's explosiveness when they get injured, right? It's the ankle, knee, and hip. That's pretty much it, right? That's where you get all your lower extremities, right? Ankle, knee, hip. You have chronic injuries there, you're going to lose some burst. You're going to lose some explosion. And look, he's not a young man. I think Chris is early 30s at this point, right? So there's certainly in a league where guys are coming in the league at 19 and 20. Yeah, there's people a whole lot younger than you out there. Right? So I say all that to say that if Chris is transitioning to that Ginobili role, right, which may very well become a possibility, right, I think he could do a tremendous job at that, provided that he's available, provided that he can consistently do that.
Yeah, and again, tonight was one of those nights where in the fourth quarter, Chris Middleton, like I said, he took over for a couple possessions. So it's one of those things. You have Damian Lillard, you have Giannis, both of them doing their thing. Don't forget, you also got 22 over there, Cash Money. He had the. I thought it was a 3, but it ended up being a 2, like fall away. Late in, again, that was a late in the clock. Again, again, this is about the Bucks. Obviously, they win 131, 124. Bam Adebayo was very good tonight. So if there is reason to if you're a Miami Heat fan, I wouldn't hold you. And I don't always speak highly of the Miami Heat, but there's no reason to hold your head tonight if you're the Heat and you look at what you did with Bam Adebayo. That's what you've been waiting to see. And if the Miami Heat are going to get that Bam Adebayo in the playoffs and not the guy who's missing shots and playing timid and playing scared, if you get in the Bam Adebayo and give you 30 and 10 and hard-nosed defense, because on the play where Chris hit the fall-away outside, Dame had Bam Adebayo, and you think you got a small on a big coming at you, and you think, okay, here's the crossover. I'm about to give him a little tween hezzy, stutter step and go, step back. Dame could not shake him. Tried it, didn't work, backed it out, came back, and then Bam Adebayo blocked the shot, and the Bucks came back and threw it in to Chris to hit the shot, and then Chris came back, I think, on the next possession and hit a mid-range jumper, and then the possession after that, Chris Middleton threw the alley-oop to Giannis, and Giannis went to the foul line and shot 2 free throws and made them. So again, kudos to Chris. And then I see some people talking about Adrian Griffin in the comments. I do want to say the other thing about Dr. Griffin that's been so good, John Tyus. And that's how I know it's not just players. His slobs, his sideline out of bounds, and it's just coming in. Bucks earn top seed in the East. They will face the New York Knicks. Let me just make sure I have this correct. The Milwaukee Bucks will face the wild card. The wild card is the New York Knicks. Those games will tip off for the NCAA tournament. Those games will tip off Monday, December 4th, and Tuesday, December 5th. Dates not set. Times not set. I believe the dates not set either. So they'll either play on the 4th or the 5th in that NCAA tournament game, and they're going to host it. But their sideline out of bounds plays, John, have been excellent. Dr. Griffin, when he calls timeouts, excellent. And people take that for granted, but not calling a timeout at the appropriate time when another team's going on a run. Again, it's great. Warren Price says one thing for sure: Heat culture's real. I guarantee you, we don't compete that hard without our 2 scores out. Spo is hands down the best coach in the NBA. But John Tyus, I'll run you one faster. Dr. Griffin just stood toe to toe with Eric Spoelstra and said, and they went blow for blow, and Dr. Griffin outmastered him down the stretch. That's I don't care. I don't care who was there and who was available, what not there. You were there. You were in the game. You are the best coach in the game. Well, Dr. Griffin outcoached you tonight down the stretch. That's all I know.
100%. 100%. Now, Dr. Griffin's driving a Ferrari, right? So I'll give you that, but I agree.
But Spo is driving Heat culture, right? It's a Heat culture.
Right. But you and I both know you bring that Honda Civic to the drag strip, you can only do so much.
See how much that Heat culture get you down the strip, right?
But what I'll say though, and I'll say the one nice thing I'll say about the Heat is that listen, they were shorthanded, Hero and Butler, and they competed.
They
right?
absolutely competed.
And they showed up and competed, right? The Bucks bench did not, right? But we'll get to that.
We will get to that. I got to right. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
I'm going to get to some more comments. Again, there's so many comments here. At the Weedmanator says, said it before.
That might be the name of the night. The Weedmanator. Let's see if we can get a
D_Weedmanator says, said it before, I'll say it again. When Giannis and Dame are on, best duo in the league. Milwaukee's Phileas Goose says, Bucks used to complain about the fourth quarter collapses. Now we close games like prime Trevor Hoffman. I don't care if the final scores are close. W's all count the same. This is a team that truly knows how to win when it matters the most. At BWAG65773527 says Griff held his own against the best coach in the NBA. Kudos to him. And Martinez Coleman Jr. says one thing I want the Bucks to do is when they hit a scoring drought, put Brook down in the post for a couple easy buckets. After that, you can play like normal. Too many times we let teams come back without us scoring an easy basket. I go one more. Dr. Griff for prayers. Look at this. I'm loving the Dr. Griffin movement. Says great win for the Bucks. Love how the doctor uses his timeouts. I love this. I love how the doctor uses his timeout. This is a movement. This is a movement.
Yes, sir.
The team that plays so good coming out of air. This team plays so good coming out of timeouts when comparing the Bud era. Again, everybody gets to the Mike Budenholzer and Adrian Griffin comparisons. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade on Bud. I wouldn't have to talk about Bud as much, but for the fact that people always want to compare and say, well, this is happening here. So you can stay there. They absolutely come out of timeouts looking much better, I think, than in the Bud era. And again, they play better in the fourth quarter as well. And just as a whole, so again, we didn't have a show the other night when the Bucks came back from down 26. But again, John Tyus, I just keep it moving along with the show. Can you give me what your thoughts on just late game heroics down the stretch? You see 3-pointers from Dame that are falling. You see Giannis hitting shots late, getting to the basket, getting to the rim, even Beasley. And then the other thing that I don't think is talked about enough are the defensive stops that seem to happen. I think Giannis had a strip that took place. Like he had a couple strips late in the game. I think maybe Dame had a steal as well. It just seems like the guys are better connected, especially when you look at the first half. And I thought tonight in the first half, honestly, Damian Lillard, and I tweeted this out. Damian Lillard, I thought, gave the worst effort that I've seen him in. How many games he played for the Bucks? Defensively, I thought he gave the worst effort I've seen from him. A lot of open shots, wasn't fighting through screens, being lost on the perimeter, all that kind of stuff. But late in games, they seem to lock in. That not only again signs of a good team, they're also an older team, John. An older guy, they may not. I'm not going. I'm not running around chasing Duncan Robinson all game. I'm not chasing Kyle Lowry's a grifter. I'm not running around after BBL Kyle Lowry all game long. I'm not.
You talk about Kyle with the BBL?
BBL.
Man, we gonna leave BBL Kyle alone,
I'm
man.
not running after BBL Kyle Lowry all game long. And so you see some of that stuff where Dame may not want to do it, but late in games, fourth quarters, games online, the Bucks are much better connected down the stretch.
Well, and you look at adjustments too, and again, I agree with you. Adrian Griffin 100% deserves some credit for that because you're seeing this consistently happen game after game after game. And look, I mean, we talk about heat culture and all this crap about heat culture, which, listen, some of it is valid. I'll say it because I'm not going to be a hater, right? I get it. The 6 championships in 20 years. Okay, great. They've been to 6 championships in 20 years. But what I'll say in the 18 games that the Bucks have played this year, you can't tell me that the Bucks culture, something, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but finishing strong 100% belongs in there. For finishing strong, this team finishes stronger than right now probably any other team in the NBA. And it's absolutely remarkable. You 100% have to put that on Adrian Griffin because under him, you're seeing this consistently happen, and you're seeing players all across the board buy in. Something about that fourth quarter, I don't know what it is. If it's mind-body connection or what, guys are locking in and guys are finding ways to contribute when it counts, when it matters. Again, I don't want to pound this Malik Beasley drum too hard here, right? But 10 boards, right? Andre Jackson Jr. comes in, gets 3 minutes. All right, I'm going to make this thing happen. Things start clicking. You start seeing magic happen. Chris Middleton, right? Throwing it back to 2021 for a couple minutes, right? I'm like, oh, man, look at Chris. Giannis, 30-30. Giannis, Dame, 30-30 club. Giannis, Dame doing what they do. Giannis making free throws. Man, you 100% better give some respect to Adrian Griffin on this. Give him some credit.
Let me ask you this, John. As Kyle chimes back in and says, don't want to be negative, but it was concerning that is that close with Jimmy and Hero out. I have somebody else on Twitter who just tweeted and said, bruh, our bench hasn't closed out a game in a while. We need to start blowing out teams or Giannis and Dame's legs are going to be heavy as hell by the time the playoff starts. Do you now, I will say, there are some valid points because, and I was thinking about this. There were not a ton of times. I'm gonna make a counterpoint on that too. So hold 1 second. People thinking about that. Giannis played 39 minutes tonight. Dame played 37 minutes tonight. Brooke went 31. Chris is on a minutes limit. Beasley goes 37. I agree. No, did our bench have we had to play our bench unit heavy minutes or like I said? Remember, Giannis wasn't having to play a lot. Like I was thinking, like how many times did we see? Where Giannis and when at that point it was Drew, but Giannis and when Chris was healthy, they were playing these high levels of minutes. You didn't see that a lot from the Bucks because you're right, they were blowing teams out. Now again, what I would also say is I saw a lot of fourth quarter collapses. I didn't see fourth quarter execution like this. So again, neither here nor there. I do think it's something for playoffs when you think about, man, are these guys' legs going to be heavy? Because if you remember, John, one of the things that I didn't like about Steve Nash in Brooklyn was it felt like he just spammed Kevin Durant for 40 minutes a night and won basketball games. Now, again, they did that out of necessity because Brooklyn, a couple years ago when it was Brooklyn, Harden, and Kyrie, because they were, and even the year I think when Kyrie missed a bunch of time, because they were gonna miss the playoffs, and so they needed Kevin Durant to play out his minutes, and he did look tired. I think they played Boston in that first round and got swept, I think they got swept, whatever year that was, that 2 years ago. So there's something to be said for that. But you know what I always used to see is in the playoffs, John, I used to see Giannis bent over on his knee, hands on his knees, huffing and puffing. You know what's crazy? And again, I always used to think, man, is some of that because he only plays 28 minutes every other night? And in the playoffs, you got to go 40, and you ain't used to playing 40 minutes every other night. So when you have to play, 11 minutes of game time, that's a lot more wear and tear in your body, and you're not used to it. And when it happens to you, you're like, oh man, my body's not conditioned to play this long because I've never done it. What I will say is, in these games, the only game I saw Giannis like really tired was that Indiana game where he ran out of gas. And it was just him trying to go up and down with the Pacers.
Yeah.
Outside of that, so is there some good with having to play heavy minutes as well?
So there is, but I will talk about the drawbacks in a second, right? So there is for a couple of reasons. One, playing heavy minutes, Giannis and Dame play heavy minutes, right? You have to establish that chemistry. So you need those reps. You need them. They have to play together, guys. Like, listen, at the end of the day, 40, 50 games, they need to play this together. So I'm not really worried about that at this point. Having said that, though, there is something to be said about overuse injuries, right? When you're playing high minutes night in, night out, you can't really get your rest in. It's possible that's when the lower body extremity, you get a hamstring, right? You get a groin nagging, you get the quad, whatever that is, you get calf strains, you name it. That is possible that could develop later on in the season. But I'm gonna put a pin in that for your Giannis and your Dame and your big fellas, because I'm gonna say, man, I wasn't there when it came to trading Bobby. Right, I wasn't there when it came to trading Bobby. But if we look at this Bucks team, if you look at the injuries, you look at the injury to Crowder as well, we only really got there's 3 people on our bench that are supposed to be reliable. Everybody else is, to an extent, a project. And that's not mentioning Crowder because he's hurt. Right now, that's Bobby Portis, Cam Payne, and Pat Connaughton. Those are the only 3 people on the bench that most of us would say, okay, this is who's reliable.
Word tonight? Ass.
Right, exactly, but that's a problem though, right? Because a listener that just tweeted this in was like, "Yo, our bench is thin. Our bench is incredibly thin." Because listen, we like MarJon and we think he's a project. We like Andre Jackson Jr. He's a project, right? Can you rely on those guys to come in and do? Well, I mean, I think you need a bigger body of work for Andre Jackson before you can answer that question. Can you rely on MarJon? Hey, sometimes he's shooting, sometimes he's killing it offensively. He's making plays defensively. Sometimes MarJon is just a guy out there, right? So. Yes, our bench depth is a little bit concerning right now. And because of that, I think, hey, maybe you do look at moving Bobby and Pat. Maybe you do look at moving. Maybe both of those guys are gone by the trade deadline at this point.
At Carl Phenom, who is a known Bucks hater, says atrocious. 124 to the Heat, no Jimmy or Hero. 25% of the season is gone, and Griff looks to have 0 answers. Like some of the okay. I like hoops at DPappy YP says Chris gave me some good flashbacks. We don't have to mention the D though. And Jay Horvath says still don't like the defense, but the clutch closing by this team is a real thing. Andre Jackson Jr. has to play MarJon's minutes. Need Jay back soon. Well, you're not gonna get Jay back soon. I think he was gonna be out 2 months, and that was maybe like just a couple weeks ago. So he still got some time before he gets back. And then Bobby Porter's stance says honestly, the way this team plays in the fourth quarter is insane. Kyle also says MJ played 40 plus minutes, 82 games a year, and then won 6 titles. These guys are soft, and I think some of that too. It's crazy. I in some ways I do agree with some of that, because back in the day they did play those heavy minutes. They were still able to play in the playoffs, and they didn't get this excuse of rest. And they played not only, and Kyle, I'll do you one better. Not only did they play heavy minutes, but they didn't get all these. They played back to back. They played 4 games in 5 nights. Like they didn't have this schedule where it's like, oh, we can't. Got to make sure the guys aren't playing. No. So they went out and had to play basketball. So there is something to that. But I will say, and when I was talking about Steve Nash, we were talking about Kevin Durant. He was in his 30s when that was happening. And it was like, ooh, maybe he's going to break down. Giannis is still 28, man. Like, or what is he about to turn 29? He's 28 years old. So, yeah, man, like, no, you should be able to play some basketball, get up and down the court. I know he has knee issues. Robert Henry says probably rest a few against the Bulls to get players ready for the tournament. And maybe that's some of it, too. Maybe you do have a rest night and see what the guys can bring. But, again, I'll take these, I'll take these close wins. I'll take what you say. Got to take the nitty wins with the gritty wins.
Right, take the right. We take the gritty wins with the pretty wins. Come on now, we already know from gritty to pretty, ashy to classy. Let's get it right. At the end of the day, though, here's my thing, and I want to respond to the listener that talked about this. Right, here's the thing about MJ and all those players when they were playing night in night out. I agree with you that these guys are soft and they weren't doing that. But one thing I will say is that I think your off-season strength and conditioning has gotten a lot more advanced. Right, players actually getting in the lab and just being able to do a bunch of different things to become more explosive players, and all that equates to wear and tear to an extent as well. In addition to, for some reason, these players want to play for pick whatever country in the summer, right? Oh, there's a Pan American Games or something that we really don't care about. Yeah, I want to go represent Team USA in that. I want to do that too, which it's fine. I'm not gonna knock you for doing that, but understand that is also additional wear and tear. And that has to be managed throughout the season too.
That's a good point, JT. And the other thing that when you talk about that, when you add into the fact, back in the day, yeah, you played high school. That was it. You played high school That's where you all got recruited, on high school. Yep. Now everybody gets recruited on the AAU circuit. Like, you ain't got to play high school anymore. You get recruited on the AAU circuit, and the AAU circuit is all year round. It's you play tournaments every weekend. You're doing it, and so I agree. There's more wear and tear from a younger age, as well as, like I said, these guys. There's 15 tournaments in the summer that they got to go play in and represent the country in the. He said the Pan American Games.
I mean, whatever. Like, pick up. Oh, okay. This team is going to be put together. Okay, why? Why are you doing this? I can't. And I got a real soft spot for this because remember, Drew was doing that mess. Right. Chris has done that mess. Giannis has done. It's just like,
Chris
man,
ain't been healthy since. That's the problem.
Right.
Let's do our reset. Player of the game, 131-124 Bucks win over the Miami Heat. Chris Middleton's your player of the game in just 23 minutes, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He really won this player of the game because, again, you could have gave it to Giannis. You could have gave it to Damian Lillard. You could have gave it to Malik Beasley. But Chris Middleton, down the stretch, I mean, there was, like, I think 3 possessions when the game is in the balance, and just goes to show you how much what this team has and what they have to offer, because you have again, we're talking about Dame time and he was hitting shots, talking about Giannis getting to the basket doing what he does, and then Chris Middleton late in the game with the heroics and doing and again showing you that packed that thing too, and so I thought all that worked in his favor. To your point though, John, about the Milwaukee Bucks bench. And potentially trading Bobby Portis and those type of things, because again, he just didn't have a good night tonight. Some people were talking, and again, we mentioned the bench stats and the plus minus from that group. Do you, for whatever reason, I almost think, do you just lean into being top heavy? Because I think that the Bucks are a top heavy basketball team. They're gonna get even thinner if Pat Connaughton is out for an extended amount of time because he rolls his ankle. But do you just go all in on, we're going to be top heavy, let's trade Bobby Portis, and maybe if we have to trade MarJon Beauchamp or do whatever we have to do to get another high-quality, fringe starter-ish player to come in? Because, again, at the end of the game, and when the playoffs hit, you're going to be playing 7-8 guys anyway. And do I trade like a 2-for-1 and get a couple guys out to get one more guy who I know all the time is going to bring it to me? And I think, again, I'm sure that people within the Bucks front office, fans, the Bobby Portis is going to be a hard name to get around trading. Just because, and again, he does bring a spark and an energy. The other night, the comeback against Portland, he had a couple big shots to kind of spark that comeback. But I just wonder, do you think about getting to that point? When do you think? And again, I don't think. And again, for record, for full disclosure, me, I'm not there yet. I'm definitely not there yet. I'm open. I'm listening to calls for somebody's like all gung ho on Bobby Portis for something that I can't refuse. He's not untradeable by any means, but I'm not going out of my way to move him at this point. But yeah, I think Pat you can kind of do without, and I think it's a question of can you do without Marjan, Bobby Portis, one of those guys. Maybe somebody's interested in a young Marjan Beauchamp. You have some picks out there that you can throw around too. The second round or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Can you get a higher level guy to come in who is going to be able to come off the bench and really execute and play well? Because again, the guy that I really would love to go to the bench is Malik Beasley, because I think again he is a bucket. I think if you could maybe have Jay Crowder starting or something like that, and then you have Malik Beasley come in and being a heat wave, and if he's on, he's closing games anyway.
Yeah, and right, and so that gives you your six, right? So far, Beasley, Beasley for the most part reliable. Crowder, right? Obviously, Giannis, Dame, Lopez, right, and a healthy Middleton. But I think at that point you get your six. Here's the thing where I think the trade talk gets tough though. Do you look at a player, not necessarily a star, right? But do you look at moving Bobby and Pat for a guy who's really 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 reliable, who can come in and give you something night in night out, or do you think, hey, we got to build some depth here? Because at the end of the day, our rotation, our legitimate playoff rotation at this point is still what, six guys at this point, right? Because again, you talk about Bobby, you talk about Pat. I mean, it's legit. Our legitimate playoff
No,
rotation is
no.
six, and then we're hoping after that. There's some
Yeah,
hope after that.
yeah. I think Pat can play. I think Pat can play, and then Bobby can play in spots, and then so I think you're really and I think Campaign can play. I mean, that's the thing. I think Campaign has shown he shot the ball well at times. So you have Campaign's going to play in the playoffs. If Bobby's on the team, he's gonna play. There's a question about how long he can play, and then Pat. I think the other question you're asking about who can get in is, can Marjan find, if he's on the team, can he find a way to play? Because no, I cannot trust a Marjan Beauchamp
But
right
see, that's
now.
the hope category. That's that
Right,
hope
that's
category
hope.
where like,
Right,
okay, now you hoping. Now you
yeah,
hoping.
I'm
Same with
hoping.
Andre Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I'm
You hoping.
hoping. But again, I'm seeing some positive things from Andre Jackson Jr. He could have played more than 3 minutes tonight. I want to see. I
True.
want to see Andre Jackson Jr. on the floor again. He banked in a three. He hit another one fourth
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah,
Those are three important minutes, man. Where you
yeah.
have to, where the game's kind of in the balance, 5-6 point swing either way, and you got to figure out. You have to figure out a way to stay in the game, and he provided those moments for the Milwaukee Bucks when they were having some trouble figuring it out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with the momentum that built on some of his plays. So yeah, we'll see, right? It's TBD at this point. I will say this: Andre Jackson Jr. is fighting, scraping, clawing,
Man,
and
yeah.
finding a spot in this rotation, and he 100% thus far has shown that he deserves some minutes every night. I don't know how many, right? I'm not obviously more than three, but he has 100% shown that he belongs in the rotation. And look, the other night when who was that got in his face and he didn't back down. He was
Oh,
fired up. He was
I
like, "Let's
can't
get with
remember.
it."
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, he showed he ain't scared, and that's the most important thing is he's not scared. It's toughness here. I absolutely love that. So yeah, we'll see. Right. I can't right now say, "Oh, this rookie's gonna be reliable in the playoffs." Like, wait, we're not there. Yeah, we're 18 games in. Let's pump the brakes on that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the trade talks go. The other thing though is that understand something. I hope our Bucks listeners understand this too. I know our Bucks listeners know it's the national media that says this goofy stuff. Milwaukee is becoming a place, a destination where people want to go, right? Like Milwaukee is a destination where people want to come at this point. So it'll be interesting in the trade market too to see what players and what teams they're looking at, because I certainly think with the addition of Dame here, man, everybody's paying attention in the East.
Warren Price says if you trade Portis, you have to get another post or suffer watching Robin Lopez off the floor, or suffer
Yeah, that's
watching Robin
true.
Lopez get off the floor by the bench and muddle through 13, 12 minutes a night. So here's the thing, Warren Price. Yes, but you probably in, like, let's say you're trading for Pat Connaughton and let's say it's Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis. I said 2 for 1, but maybe in that maybe it is a 2 for 2. Maybe you can get a throw in big that is as good as Brooke Lopez. I mean, excuse me, as not as good as Bobby Portis, but maybe you can get a throw-in big that is better than Robin Lopez, and you can just be you can have somebody who can just at least be out there and play those minutes. The other thing you can do, of course, if Jay Crowder is available, Jay Crowder can play small ball 4, and you can have Giannis, in as your 5, or Brook in as your 5. Robert Hewitt says no trading Bobby. We need him. Trade Con. See, that's the thing. He says trade Connaughton Beasley. Absolutely not. Malik Beasley has
Nah, hell
a
no.
30-point game. People have been on Beasley, and I get no. Has his defense been stellar? No, but he's putting in buckets. I believe he's shooting. I had to look at. I believe he's shooting like 40. Is he shooting like 40% from 3-point? I mean, Malik Beasley is shooting the lights out the ball, man. So I can't go there on trading Beasley. Again, Bobby's the one not give you defense and also having issues shooting the ball. Those can tend to become problems. And again, we've seen him not be able to play in the playoffs. Again, and Malik Beasley's not able to shoot. He's not going to play in the playoffs either. But he's shooting the ball. That's all I'm saying.
So here's one thing, and I know we're going to have a ton of time to talk about this and cover this too, but one thing that I will certainly say is that what you could do is you could always trade for a playmaker, always trade for an impact player. And then if you got to move Bobby, you got to look at your free agent list right now. And there's a couple names, right? You got, I mean, it's not great, but you got your boy Dwight Howard. It's available.
Okay.
No. You got Boogie
but
Cousins,
Dwight Howard
right?
Probably
you got
is better than Robin Lopez,
right? And that's what I'm saying. At some point, you got to make a business decision, right? But Dwight Howard coming off the bench, like that, provided
he got to get his
provided he's in shape. I mean,
provided that he ain't surprising people in them rooms.
Yeah,
that's all. But because that's what the allegations were. What's his name? Pinky? Who was it?
Oh my god! Oh my! Nerlens Noel, right? You got some names there. I mean, right, again, this list is thin. I'm not by no means am I sitting here doing it, right? Like this list is thin, right? So that's something you do have to think about, because I agree with was that Warren who just said that there's no way in hell I want to see Robin Lopez.
No.
Robin Lopez touch that floor unless we're up by 20, or unless somebody got injured for a second. He got to come in and do that. Like he got to come in and play.
And I am looking based on 6 3-point attempts a night, essentially 5.8 a night. Malik Beasley is shooting a career high right now, 45% from 3. So no, I have zero interest in trading Malik Beasley right now. He's playing 27 minutes. This is probably some of the best ball outside of 2019. In later years of his career, this is best ball Malik Beasley maybe played since 2021.
And that right now might be one of the best values in the league. He's on like a $2 million deal.
He's on a prove it deal. Yeah, he's on a prove it deal.
$2.7 million deal, right? Like, I mean, yeah. Like, why would you get rid of Malik Beasley? Unless, of course, you could, get an all-star caliber player or something, but that's not going to happen.
And then Gabe Mooney at G Money Bucks chimes in. Dame is averaging far less minutes than he has at almost any point in his career. Giannis is about average compared to his career minutes. I agree they need to get some breaks and blowouts, but their legs will be fine come playoff time. Kyle says, JT, it is not shot o'clock right now. Dwight Howard, ? Nerlens Noel, come on, man.
Listen, my point is the free agent list is thin at this point, and like, yeah, it's not looking too strong, but I appreciate that, Kyle. Join us for Shot O'Clock the next time we're on there.
Absolutely. At Raged Can says, under Bud, if the Bucks ever came out flat, they would just give up and go to the next game. Under Adrian Griffin, at least they fight back the whole game. Under Bud, though, if stuff was going bad, it never got better. Under Bud, it just never got better. Is what they're saying, and there's some truth to that. It didn't seem, I don't know, because I've seen people on Twitter, that there's no fight from this team, and I just disagree. They fight, man. This team fights. Now they may not come out as soon as the curtains lifted and scrapping. But it's something you've seen. They do the rope a dope like Ali.
That's what I was thinking right now. You see, Muhammad Ali was getting smacked through the first 5 rounds, and then that round 6 came out. Muhammad Ali was giving people that work. But yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the rope a dope. And you know what I got to say though? But like, I think you hit on this earlier. Might be that you got an older team that's a little bit smart.
Right.
Okay. we all we got to do is be close, and we got this
This
thing, right?
thing,
It's just
especially.
like you watch, if you're an Olympic guy, you're a track and field guy, you'll see especially in some of these 400 meter runner guys, you'll see people go out that first 200 at like 19 low 20s, and it's like okay, but then you see them experienced dudes, you know, swallow them up the last 150 meters. No,
Oh
don't pause, don't pause me,
no!
but
What did they do?
they catch them,
You
man.
gotta
They
be.
catch them with 150.
You
But you see,
wow.
all
They do in the last. What they do in the last 100 meters?
this ain't Bucks After Dark, man.
All right.
This ain't Bucks After Dark.
Shout out to Bucks
Shout out
After
to Bucks
Dark.
After Dark. I like it. It's one of my favorite follows.
Yeah. Speaking of which, well, I'm not even gonna get into it. I know you're not on Twitter, but John, there's this big like thing about Bucks tier list. I'm not. I'm not even getting into it. It was a whole thing. I'm not. I'm not gonna bore you with it. It was a whole thing on Twitter about following and accounts that are good versus accounts that are bad. People be getting their feelings. I'm not going. I'm not going to entertain it.
Oh no.
Just know it. Man, people being their feelings. It's a mess on there. Interesting scores around the league right now. Looking at Dallas beating Houston. Dallas is a good basketball team, man. I don't care what anybody says. This is a very good basketball team, well coached, and I think well, it's a close game. 113-107 right now, with a minute 30 to play. The Warriors.
Shout out. Dallas got a new owner, by the way. Mark Cuban just
Yeah.
sold
In a
sold a portion of that team,
in a
$3.5 billion.
crazy thing though, I think this is one of the first times that an owner has sold a portion of their team, but has retained all rights to basketball decisions. So that is an interesting thing. I think how much did they sell for it? Is it
Well, so he sold
the
his portion.
valuations?
He sold the portion he sold was $3.5 billion.
So what was the entire valuation? Is that the entire valuation? Okay, so is that the
I
entire
think
valuation?
majority stake was probably 5 or 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have to see what the actual number is on what that equates to. So he sold 3.5 billion. You know, he bought it for $250 million.
Yeah, and 100%. Here's the thing: it
Great
makes sense.
investment.
It makes sense what Mark Cuban did. You know what he said? He said, "Look, I don't want to run the business of this damn team. I want to run the basketball portion because that's what's fun. I don't want to care what the hell the
Yeah,
accounting
that's
department's
cool.
doing. I don't give a damn about the marketing department and sponsorship and everything else. I just want to run like with the basketball ops. Smart,
Yeah, it's
makes a lot of
smart.
sense.
And again, we know what is on the team. Now again, it's a great investment. You're making money, but it's a stick swinging contest. It's hey, I got look because again, it's a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
small group.
All
Well,
right,
no, I'm just saying it's a
all
small group of
right.
guys, and they can say, look, I got all this money, I got more money. What do you want to do with your money? Well, you know what, I'm gonna buy a basketball team. And now Mark Cuban has cashed in his investment, and I also still get to sit front row and make those decisions too. So I think he gets the best of both worlds there. The New York Knickerbockers win 115-91 over the Charlotte Hornets. And the crazy thing about this, John, was again they're in Group B along with the Milwaukee Bucks. They won. Their margin was so high that because a lot the common thought was even if the Bucks lose tonight against the Miami Heat, if the Knicks win, the only way Milwaukee Bucks could have lost the group was to lose, and then the Knicks also lose. But there was a scenario where if the Knicks won and they won by a high enough margin, they could overtake the Bucks' point total margin, and they did that tonight by winning 115-91 of the Hornets. So as this thing got late into the game, there was a very real chance. Again, not that it matters, but that the Bucks could have they would have ended up being the wild card because the Knicks are the wild card. But it was just interesting down the stretch. The Bucks actually needed to beat the Heat to advance and host the quarterfinals game. They do that. The Cavaliers win 128-105 over the Atlanta Hawks. The Nets beat the Raptors 115-103. The Celtics 124-97. They're 14-4. And again, this is what to be honest, this is what the fans that are out on Adrian Griffin, what they want is these easy nights, 124-97. They want to cruise. They don't want to think about anything. They don't want to have it's okay. Everything's chill. Everything's relaxed. And we're fine. But the crazy thing is, and again, maybe they were trying to run the score up tonight, but 35 minutes for Tatum, even in a blowout win. 35 minutes for Brown in a blowout win. Drew Holiday plays 33 minutes. Actually, a decent night for Drew Holiday. He was 5 for 8, 14.7 boards and 9 assists. So again, those minutes were still high for Boston, but that's what the fans want is these easy games where they can relax and everything's all good. And then finally, the Timberwolves beat the Thunder 106-103. They're playing some good basketball.
Yeah, listen, at one of these nights, we're going to have to address the throng of Bucks fans that, quote unquote, Bucks fans on Twitter that just preach all this doom and gloom, and they complain because this Bucks team looks way different than the Bucks team they were watching when HD TV became a thing, right? When YouTube became a thing, right? When folks were still on dial-up internet, right? We're gonna have to start addressing these people, and by these people, I mean your boy Paul Henning.
I like
Right?
Paul,
Your
man.
boy Paul Henning. Yeah, no, you don't.
I do like Paul.
Have you like? No, you don't.
I like no, I like. I
You
think
fronting right now.
he's dramatic, and again, and he's not the only one. He's dramatic, and again, he's not
Yeah.
again. As I say, he's not the only one. Very dramatic. I think
Yes,
he's.
absolutely.
The only thing I say on Paul, I do think at the very least, I don't think Paul is a. I think some people are trolling. I don't think Paul is a troll. I don't think he's a. I think he
Great.
means well,
So
but he's
yeah,
dramatic.
he is willfully
Yeah, he's on the
willfully just
drama
providing
side of Bucks
spewing
Twitter.
nonsense,
Yeah.
right? Like, listen, right? No, I think he's very intentional about what he's doing. I think his takes at this point are absolute trash. I think they're intellectually dishonest at this point, right? I don't know who the hell the audience is for this, but why don't you guys find a damn group chat? Because right now you're spewing nonsense, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to tell Bucks fans that they don't see what they see for a reason that does not make any sense. That's my problem with Paul Henning. You're pretty much going to use every opportunity to say, Bucks fans, I know you see this, but here's the issue. Get the hell out of here. What are you talking about? Man, if he doesn't stop playing and put some respect on Dr. Griffin's name. Because you know what I love? You know what I love about guys like Paul Henning?
What's that?
You watch games against the Trail, but you watch games like all the Bucks do is just prove them wrong. They just prove them wrong. And so what it does is they have to shift their argument to what the problem is. Now they got to move around. They got to start moving around their argument, or start shifting their argument. And look here. A shifty argument is what? What, Trey? That's a weak argument.
Well, yeah.
That's a weak argument. Right. If you got to start shifting that argument, moving around, that's a weak argument. Come on now.
I like it, JT. I like it. But yeah, I listen. I don't disagree with you. I think some always are intellectual dishonest. But there is a section of Bucks Twitter that enjoys that enjoys being doom and gloom, and I think it's we talked about this before. I think it's an older section of Bucks Twitter who just can't fathom that the Bucks are good and that this is fun. And again, we talk about this all the time. Readjust your mindset about the Milwaukee Bucks. This ain't no defensive basketball team that's gonna, they're gonna be some lapses throughout the game, but they're gonna execute down the stretch. This is an offensive basketball team. They're gonna get the stops when they need them. They have continued to do that. They've shown that they can do that, and they've shown that they're capable. So again, I'm not mad at it at all.
I bet that that portion of Bucks Twitter doesn't trust technology or anything. It's just like, oh my god, like what? Like they started watching. You can't have an antenna on your TV anymore. Or maybe you can, but yeah, I guarantee you, there's some personality traits of that portion of Bucks Twitter, no question about it. But we'll address that one show. I don't know. I wish somebody had smoke with us, to be honest. You brought out the racist trolls the other week,
we will. At some point,
okay.
it's bound to happen.
I hope they don't embarrass themselves.
Well,
I hope they don't embarrass themselves.
That may happen too. John, I did want to get to a couple other things related to sports. You talked about the Dallas Mavericks. Did you see? And I get a couple instances, then we'll let this thing go. Did you see Russell Westbrook and the fan courtside at the latest Clippers game? I can't remember who they were playing. It was opposing team, and Russ, while play is going on, is addressing a fan who I don't know what he said. And then, did you see the NFL game? I think it was like Shaq Lawson and somebody else from the Bills against Philly the other night, which was a great game, great football game. But who was it that actually? I don't think it was Shaq Lawson. I think it was somebody else who pushed a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I would be surprised. I haven't heard anything about the suspension, but it seemed like, and the videos have come out, they weren't saying anything disrespectful. They're heckling, which I guess I think we had a discussion before. All he's accused about heckling and how far fans can go. But here's the thing: once you know that you can get inside people's heads, and you can get inside a guy like Russell Westbrook's head, and if I'm behind the Buffalo Bills bench and I'm screaming at you and yelling at you again, as long as I'm not saying anything too crazy or offensive or anything with malicious intent that's just not true about you, racial or anything of that nature, I think a lot of this is fair game. And so again, does a ticket give you the opportunity to say whatever you want? No, it does not. But your ticket doesn't. I think you do have the right to heckle. I think you have the right to boo. I thought what Pop did, again, something where I'm telling people they can't boo. And I heard Paul George had an interview where he was like, well, we don't come to your place of work, or we don't deserve to be disrespected, at our place of work. Guess what? I don't invite anybody to my place of work. What I do when I come to work. You're right. You're right, Paul George. You're not coming to see me work because I don't invite. I don't make you pay to do it. Now, if I told Paul George you need to pay $200 to stand in front of me while I type, you should be able to distract me all you want to. But I'm not. But I'm not making you pay me $200 every time you come in and do that. So when that's the basis of what you do, and again, the teams feed into it. What happened, John? What you been to a basketball game lately? What happens to people shooting free throws? What are the teams giving out? They're giving out bricks and the thunder when the thunder
Shirts and
sticks
everything else.
and waving
Right.
towel. They're asking me to make. And you know what? You make noise during the free throw. I'm gonna give you Chick-fil-A if they miss 2 free throws. I'm gonna give you if they get 3 false starts. I'm gonna give you Krispy Kreme donuts, a dozen free for. So what do you like? Everything about this is for the fans to have an impact, or at least an impact. I say that in quotations on the game. And then you get upset. Well, why are you talking to me at work? Sit down, shut up, and watch the game. No, and I'm not a shut up and dribble guy, but shut up and play. The basketball game is on. Now, I don't have a problem if you want to address somebody or talk to somebody. Again, pushing the fan. Again, there are levels. But if you're within your bounds, yeah, I think I don't have a problem with people talking and screaming. That's what they're there to do. Fan is short for fanatic.
So the first thing I'm gonna say, and I agree with those points. The first thing I'll say is, look, y'all know Russ is sensitive. Y'all know Russell Westbrook is one of the most sensitive athletes in all of sports. Why can't y'all leave that man alone? Russ is just trying to have a swan song on his career. He's trying to come off the bench. He's trying to see the minutes get cut. Pretty soon they're gonna be single-digit minutes on a nightly basis. Leave Russ alone. One thing that's weird to me about this Russell Westbrook and fan situation, though, is that he's been playing in front of large crowds his entire life. How is it that you're becoming more and more sensitive to what the fans are saying now, right? Because you would think if it was just a problem, and I mean, what do you go, UCLA? Yeah, people were saying crazy stuff to that man since college. So you would think that if there was an incident, it would have happened back then. And I know something happened a few years ago when he was in the NBA. But for him to get further and further along in his career, you're damn near year 20 at this point or close to it, and then now you and your feelings, now you sensitive. It's just like this. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It's because his play is deteriorated.
Yeah, but listen,
when somebody telling you suck and you balling, it don't hit the same when they say you suck and you suck.
Hey, but true. But you know what? Look, go find Ben Simmons, psychologist, or whomever that is, right? Figure out a way to tune that thing out.
I wouldn't find Ben Simmons.
well, that's true, right? Well, that's true. Well, I mean, look, listen. Ben Simmons, psychologist, actually did do wonders. Not so much because of his his on-court play, but Ben Simmons, I mean, he couldn't even show up for a while. He was just like he
hadn't shown up since Giannis beat him down the 5th game of the season.
Okay, well, he wouldn't even pull into the parking lot for a while. Remember, they couldn't get him to show up. There's some progress there, maybe non-basketball progress, right? But yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But here's the other thing I will say, though. Fans pay their money to cheer and do whatever. And that's part of the fan experience. They can yell whatever it is they want the player as long as it's within bounds. Right now, I will say that, those of you guys who cross racial lines and, and yell crazy stuff and want to yell at people's moms and do all this and that. Okay, well, I probably don't think you should do that. I think that you 100% do not have a right to do that. You don't have a right to go harass somebody's family or put your hands on somebody or do something crazy. Having said that, these players, you got to get a grip. Guys, you've been playing against big crowd, even football especially, right? You play at a BCS school, you done played in the crowd of hundreds of thousands of people, some of people, hundreds of thousands of people, right? This really shouldn't bother you. I feel like you should be able to ignore that and tune that out. And so I do find that very interesting that football players can hear individual voices during games with thousands of people cheering.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, during those moments when you play all this, I think it's tough. It's tough, but when you're on the bench and you're sitting there, I don't think you hear it as much when you're actively playing. But in the NBA, a lot of times there's a lot of stands watching. Once that's your profession, you're doing that 80 games a year. You can kind of zone, not say zone out, because again I think you're zoned out probably while you're playing. But you probably have gained this ability to when the game is not playing, I can look around, see what's going on. Okay. And boom, now games I'm locked right back in, and you can start to play into some of that again. I know Dwight Howard does a lot, or did I don't know how we got back on Dwight Howard, but he did it a lot. Draymond Green does it often. He's always talking to fans all the time. So
Didn't
you
he get
see a
scared
little
when
bit
some
of that.
fans said some stuff to him during the game? He tried to get somebody kicked out
Right, exactly, right. And
last year.
he's all yeah,
Sensitive
and I
Draymond.
think that was in Milwaukee. Yeah,
Yep.
right, where he was saying that fans were like threatening his life or something like that. And I think that's something they people get so dramatic about this kind of stuff. And again, if there are actual problems, I'm 100% for it. People should be removed, and if they're threatening or anything like that. But if it's good old fashioned ribbon about you suck, you're trash, this that, come on, man. As long as nobody's talking about like I said, there's some things that are off limits, but a lot of times people are just saying you're trash, and people, I think people just get sensitive to it, especially when they're playing like hot garbage. At NickSus24 says having Middleton and Dame out there on the floor in the court together in the fourth quarter makes closing out games much better. Bucks have actually been pretty good in the fourth quarter this year, or at least lately. Curtis E. Flush says fourth quarter magicians, and
Agree with that.
yeah, and so yeah, man, it's again a lot of good stuff coming out from Buck's Twitter and all over. A lot of good comments that everybody has had. John, the Bucks win it tonight, 131-124. I'll give you final words on the Bucks and what you saw.
Man, y'all gonna make me care about this damn tournament, and y'all know I do not want to. Y'all know I do not want to, but I love watching this team compete. And I think that one thing that we've all seen as Bucks fans through 18 games, this team is literally gonna fight you to the finish 9 out of 10 times. And I love it, man. Take tonight again. Gritty wins with the gritty wins. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. And we'll see you back live on what, Thursday? I think that's right. That's our next game,
Yeah,
Thursday night.
Thursday night against the Bulls. Kyle asked, "What hat is that?" This is an old school Bucks hat. Let me make sure it's in the. This is the old school Bucks hat. Oh, I get my camera. Yeah, now you can see it. Old school Bucks hat. I don't even remember where I got it. It's crazy. I was in Charlotte. I wore this hat to the Hornets game when the Bucks played the Hornets, and I had a couple people come and ask me about the hat and what they thought it was. So yeah, anyway, it's old school hat. I don't know I don't remember when I got it, where I got it, dad hat, whatever. But I like it. I'm glad to see you people like it too. At Light Seraph said, "What more can I say about Giannis and Dame? No wing defenders at all. That glaring hole needs to be fixed. Chris has no defense but brings playmaking and occasional scoring. Can't be left alone to carry the offense without Giannis and Dame on the floor. More time for Ajax." And then he says, if Jaquez almost burned us, Jimmy will provide even more impact. The difference is Giannis doesn't want to be burned by him anymore and will surely take him on defensively if he plays. I agree with some of that as well about Giannis and Jimmy. The Bucks win it tonight, 131-124. It was fun. Bucks again played well down the stretch. The Heat took the lead. It was give and go all throughout the game. Tons of lead changes, but the Bucks were able to close things out for good when Chris Middleton late in that game took over with a couple really nice plays. Giannis and Dame did what they do all the time. Bucks win it 131-124. Like JT said, we will be back. Today's Tuesday. We'll be back Thursday night against the Chicago Bulls with more Cream City crossover. This is a Cream City Media Group production. Don't take no wood nickels. Courage.